What's going on, guys? Welcome to another video. This is your boy Narik Chase, and in this video I want to ask the question: should there be multiple cinematic universes? We all know that Marvel right now is just killing it with the whole MCU, and we know that they've done a great job not only establishing the characters and their backstories, but also bringing them together, redistributing them again in their own individual stories. And with the upcoming Avengers Infinity War, they're going to bring them all back together again. And there have been other franchises that have tried this same formula to varying degrees. The closest probably at this point being the Monsterverse, where it's going to be the Kaiju and Godzilla and King Kong, as well as the DCEU, which, as much as people give it flack, I actually personally like. Let's just ask this question: should there be other franchises that can possibly do this cinematic universe? Now, if you go back into like the 40s and 50s, when they first had the Universal classic monsters, Dracula, Frankenstein, the Wolfman, the Invisible Man, the Phantom of the Opera, the Bride of Frankenstein, that right there was the first cinematic universe, I believe. And to varying degrees, it worked. In some films, you had Dracula either teaming up with the Wolfman or fighting the Wolfman, and then others you see Frankenstein with teaming up with fighting Dracula, or you'll have the Wolfman, Dracula, and Frankenstein in one movie all together. One comes to mind is Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein, or was Meet the Wolfman. I can't really remember, but I do remember it was Frankenstein, Wolfman, and Dracula all in one movie with Abbott and Costello, and it was actually pretty freaking funny. But again, should there be more cinematic universes? Now, I know because Marvel's kind of dominating it at this point. People are saying, "What's Marvel's doing it, nobody else should do it." I disagree. Let's take a look back in the day with the Godzilla films in the 60s. Those Godzilla films was a cinematic universe in themselves. You had some movies where Godzilla was by himself, fight individual monsters. In other movies, he would team up with monsters to fight other monsters and possibly turn around and fight those same monsters again. So that's two examples of how Marvel isn't the only one that can do a cinematic universe. Now, I do believe if you're going to do this, I have this idea of a cinematic universe. We have all these branching stories that come together. I think that the story itself should support it. When it comes to the DC Extended Universe, I am all for it. I for the most part, I've had my little issues with the movies, but as far as the DCEU, I have no problem with it. I think they're doing a good job with the direction that they're taking the films and the stories that they're telling. So I have no problem with the DCEU. Now, I did have a problem with The Mummy, which was supposed to launch the rebooted Universal Monsters idea. And I think the problem with it is that they didn't focus too much on the story. Now, the first movie in this is The Mummy, and I had a lot of problems with the film, despite some things I did like about it, and the direction I could see them going when it comes to the classic Universal Monsters universe, which I would like to see it. I would like to see them have all these different movies. And yes, they've had plenty of movies where they were going to just have these monsters have their individual stories and then eventually come together. Now, the Dark Monster was going to introduce some of the more classic monsters in film, which would include the Phantom of the Opera, Bride of Frankenstein, Dracula, the Wolfman, Van Helsing, the Invisible Man, the Creature from the Black Lagoon, which I think is actually an exceptional idea. Even Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Now, I would like to see them actually continue this as actual good story, have these individual stories do come together as part of a bigger plot, and I think it can work. But they need to actually sit down and actually give these stories give it complexity, give it good writing, give it substance, give it depth. And that was one thing the Mummy failed at in a lot of areas. Didn't know what it wanted to be. And, studios think that if you have a popular actor or actress, that a movie's always going to fly despite all of its flaws. And that's not simply going to work. I mean, they've actually considered putting some heavy hitters into this. The Bride of Frankenstein is supposed to be Angelina Jolie. The Invisible Man is supposed to be Johnny Depp. As far as Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, I will admit that I did enjoy Russell Crowe's performance. Honestly, I wouldn't mind seeing Sophia Boutella return as the Mummy again, because I actually thought she did a great job too. The Dark Universe, which is an absolutely great idea, because nobody's giving a crap about these characters in like the last 30 or 40 years. But I think that them bringing a fresh new face is a great way of establishing this universe, which I think it can marvel that of Marvel and DC, because let's just be real, these concepts, these monsters, these ideas have been in culture way longer than superheroes have been. I am excited for the Monsterverse as well. I did enjoy the rebooted Godzilla movie. I loved Kong Skull Island, and I would like to see where the studios are going to take this new series and the cinematic universe in a different direction. And also, I would like to see, will they introduce more new creatures? You had the skull crawlers from Kong Skull Island, great antagonistic force. They were really cool. They were very menacing. They were really scary. And just like with the Godzilla movie, with the Mutos, they were actually pretty awesome and a great challenging force against Godzilla. So I want to see not only just the original characters, because we've already got confirmation that Rodan, Mothra, and King Ghidorah are going to make an appearance, but I don't want them to just do that just to have it as a fan service, because I've never cared for Mothra in the slightest. Rodan I've never cared for. I'm not going to lie, I think King Ghidorah is probably to be the most interesting aspect to this story, but the story has to be crisp, and also they got to just do this right. You can't just bring fan favorites in and think that the movie's going to work, because if the movie doesn't, it just sucks. It's just going to suck no matter what the fans like it or not. But again, that does go back to me asking that question again, should there be more cinematic universes? Now, another one that's being the cinematic universe, which I'm going to say is the cinematic universe, is the Star Wars. We have these 3 sets of trilogies, the originals, the prequels, and now the newer ones, which are coming out. But we also now are establishing individual stories that do tie into the Star Wars film series, and I think they did a great job. Rogue One being a really good example of that. We also have the Han Solo movie that's supposed to be coming out next year, I believe, and it was one more movie. I'm not sure what it is, but I hope they do branch off and do an Obi-Wan Kenobi and a Darth Vader. But Star Wars is another excellent example of how you can have that, because the substance is there, the source material is there. I want to throw out some more interesting ideas as far as the cinematic universes, as I think some that should be fleshed out a bit more, or which are great examples that were touched upon but not really actually formed. I would like to see a better incarnation of the AVP series. I would like to see them actually reboot everything, go back to the formula, build up about a 3-part movie series or 4-part movie series where there's the aliens in one movie, the predators in another movie, then we have the AVP movies and possibly a sequel to that. And I would like to see them expound upon that, possibly introduce new elements such as a variety of predators or the different variety of aliens that actually help flesh out this, take these franchises into a different direction. Another series that they touched on, which I would love for them to expound upon, is the more modernized classic movie monsters. And when I say modernized, you have your Michael Myers, your Jason, your Freddy Krueger, your Chucky, your Ghostface, your Hellraiser, your the Creeper from Jeepers Creepers, Diana from Lights Out. I would love to see these creatures actually be in their own cinematic universes. They all are interesting franchises, though a majority of them do suck, but they're actually good ideas. And I will admit that I think that they did a great job with the Freddy vs. Jason film. It had its problems, but it actually felt like these two characters actually lived in this universe together. So I think that's where we need to go with the new series. Have them either fight it out, join forces. Again, as I've said, Freddy vs. Jason was a great idea and a fantastic example of how they actually could bring these creatures together. And if you think about it, it's like, yeah, it's plausible. Why not have all these creatures and these killers and these psychopaths and supernatural entities just all be infested in this one world? Because I don't think it's ever been addressed that these characters were all fitted in the same world. It seems like they're all in their own individual universes, but I think it would be great to have those characters be together. Now, the only thing I would say about this is don't try to convolute it with all of these characters. There's no reason for Freddy, Jason, Michael, Leatherface, Pumpkinhead, Chucky, Leprechaun, all of these characters to be in a freaking, you know what I mean, one movie together. It doesn't make any sense. I can see a couple of them if the story permits it, because if you think about it, they're all pretty spaced out. Different. It's like a horror character classic movie for like one per state. I don't know. Also, I love what Disney is, the direction Disney is kind of taking with their fairy tale franchises that they're doing, and I would like to see those come together, have these individual stories, because they're more darker, they're more realistic, and I like that. I like Beauty and Beast. I thought it was great. I love Snow White. I thought it was great. Maleficent, not so much. I think with Maleficent, like the first half of the movie, I enjoyed. I liked the first act, because it was a great origin story for the character. Everything else I didn't care about. But I would like to see that character, those characters, those different stories tie in together. I mean, they have the Aladdin movie that's about to come out, the Mulan movie that's about to come out, the live action version of The Lion King. Think of all the franchises that brought these fairy tale stories together. You had Fables. I did play the game The Wolf Among Us, and they worked. All of those fairy tale characters were in one game, and it worked. Kingdom Hearts, that's like one of the best crossover series ever, and they have not only Final Fantasy characters, but the freaking Disney characters all blended in with the fairy tale character. Once upon a time, all of these different fairy tales and Disney franchise characters all in one series. Great storytelling, and it works. Shrek even does a great job of it, and I'm quite sure there's other examples of it. You know, should there be more cinematic universes? I actually think there should be, because there's enough content in a lot of different areas that I think would work. I would like to see the Dark universe continue. I think the DCU is done. To me, I like it. I like the direction they're going. There are some problems I think they should fix. I hope they continue on with it. If Marvel, admittedly, does a great job, but they ain't the only franchise or name or brand that can do it. There's other ones. I would like to see the MonsterVerse keep going where it's going. I would like to see the more modernized movie monsters do the same exact thing. Also, I would like to see the fairy tales, and I would like to see the AVP be rebooted and done better. Guys, in the comment section below, let me know your thoughts on why we should have more cinematic universes, which actual brands, names, or franchises, or titles could actually potentially have that. And also, before I go, I would like to see an X-Men cinematic universe. They need to reboot X-Men altogether. I think X-Men by itself can be a cinematic universe, provided we have the right director and writer and actors. Anyways, this is just me signing off. I just wanted to get my ideas out there, and I appreciate you guys taking the time out to watch the video. Be sure to hit that like, share, subscribe, and that notification button to get the best of what's going on here on the Narik Chase channel. And Narik Chase, see you guys later.